It's critical that having that trust and relationship, it really helps to kind of bring you to the next level, right? For anyone, regardless of what business you're in, you want to know that you're engaging like with an organization that actually is going to do what they say, provide you with the product that they say they're going to provide you with, and that you trust at the end of the day, right? Especially when, they're the same with probably any industry, right? But there are a lot of CLE companies out there. So how do you make the best choice for you? And it starts with the people, right? And building trust. And when I talk to individuals, I'm being myself, right? I'm being myself, saying this is what we do. This is how we can support you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My guest here today is Angelica Cesario, who is a VP of Learning Solutions at Lawline. Angelica, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have our conversation. Why don't we start off with you telling everyone a little bit more about Lawline, what you guys are all about, your role within the company, and who you help?
Sure, happy to do that. So, Lawline is the nation's largest online CLE provider. By CLE, I mean continuing legal education. So, we create content for attorneys to help them fulfill their regular continuing legal education requirements so that they can keep their licenses active. But beyond that, we're also really thinking critically about what kind of training and content we should be creating to make sure attorneys receive the education that they need, comprehensive education across all types of areas that are critical to their practice and that enable them to better serve their clients. So that's what we do at Lawline, what we're always thinking about every single day. How can we help attorneys, firms, legal organizations, departments facilitate their learning? And then in my role as Vice President of Learning Solutions, I'm really fortunate to be able to kind of oversee and think about the strategy behind all of the content that we're creating to ensure that we are, providing education, again, that really is impactful and not just for the sake of fulfilling their compliance requirement, but that is actually useful.
That's a big part.
It is. It's so important. And that we're keeping on top of the trends and everything that's happening that attorneys need to stay on top of. And also I'm accountable for growing our firm and organizational partnerships as well.
Amazing. I would love to start off with just saying thank you for clarifying all those things. But two is, as someone who doesn't know much about legal or law or anything that goes on in the back end, what do you think? Even despite me not knowing much about it, I know that it's a very slow moving industry at times. People can be stuck in the good old ways of how we used to do things, and it's hard to adapt. Do you find that there's a lot of hesitancy for attorneys, firms to adapt to new methodologies, to find new ways to learn, to have that continued legal education that will allow them to extend and expand their careers as opposed to being stuck in the old ways? Do you find that there's a lot of hesitancy for the adoption?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think, yes, there is some truth to that historically, the legal profession is kind of rooted in tradition in both, you know, the ways that the legal profession practices law, right? When you think about, your typical, right, presenting in the courtroom, right? What does that look like? But I think more and more the legal profession is beginning to embrace technology and realize the importance of it. Where we're seeing that most prominently is in two different ways. One, more and more states are adapting as part of an attorney's legal education requirement that attorneys take a course that helps them better understand technology. So no, we're seeing that technology requirement in more states. New York recently added one, Florida has one. And because, the world that we live in is evolving so rapidly that it is important for attorneys to stay aware of what's going on. And it impacts attorneys in so many ways, right? They need to know what's happening in terms of the landscape at large so they can better represent their clients in what's happening. And they need to understand how they can utilize technology to help them in their own practice, right?
Mm.
So one place we're seeing that is AI. Like everyone's talking about AI, it's ubiquitous. Um, and more law firms now are embracing AI, but carefully, right? I think
Mm.
that's the question, right? With AI, there's so many unknowns and
Yeah.
ethical implications still, and so that's what we're seeing firms grappling with. We actually just launched an AI hub that kinda send has provides a lot of content in these areas, like,
Mm.
how can you embrace AI to help you in your practice? How what do you need to know to represent startups or technology companies, right? What are how can a law firm adopt AI ethically, and what kind of
Mhm.
policies should they be creating to make sure they're governing it? So many questions right now, but we're seeing a lot of engagement with AI and technology and that type of content.
Phenomenal, yeah, and I definitely want to dive a little bit deeper into that as well. But firstly, just for anybody that's listening who might be hearing you speak and is like, okay, I understand what's going on, but individuals, individual attorneys, firms, explain to them a little bit more the model. Are you guys working with B2C? So it's a direct to the consumers, the attorneys themselves? Is it B2B only with firms? How is that usually working? The dynamics of business for you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked. And also, like, even providing a step back, right? When I say CLE, so most US states require attorneys to take a certain amount of training or courses either every year. Some states it's every year, some every 2, a few it's every 3 in certain areas, right? So we're providing that content to keep attorneys active. We have about so we serve both in the B2B and B2C space.
Mm-hmm.
B2C traditionally has been the largest arm for us. We have a subscription model where, you can subscribe to Lawline and you have unlimited access to our catalog for a year. We have over 40,000 subscribers, individual subscribers. So
Mm-hmm.
that is definitely, a large portion of our business and
Mm-hmm.
continuing to grow. But in recent years, we've also really expanded into the B2B space also. So we're now serving AmLaw 100 firms, large legal corporations, legal
Mm-hmm.
departments. And there you kind of get into a separate space, right, where these organizations, they're providing law light access to the entire organization, and in many of those firms, they're also accountable for helping their attorneys stay compliant and fulfill their annual CLE
Mm-hmm.
obligations. So that's now I would say like roughly a little bit over 10% of our business.
Oh, interesting. And are you guys like leaning towards that B2B side, trying to expand that as well, or kind of just seeing like letting it expand as it goes?
We're definitely investing very much in
Mm-hmm.
expanding in the B2B space. We've been very fortunate. There's a lot of momentum. There's still a lot of reach in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And we really think that we're able to distinguish ourselves in a competitive landscape
Yeah.
because of the quality of the content that we're creating. All of our content is created by attorneys for
Mm-hmm.
attorneys. So we understand. I myself practiced law before joining Lawline, so we understand the attorney experience and what it
Mm-hmm.
is, what attorneys really need to know.
Yeah, it's relatable to them.
Yeah, exactly. And we were talking about technology, like the platform that we have where you can watch CLE. It's really easy and intuitive. So all those things, we think really make Lawline the obvious choice.
Awesome. Good stuff. I like that. And how are the firms, individuals, how are they usually finding out about you guys? How does that conversation usually start? I'm assuming there's, of course, a lot of marketing that goes on behind the scenes, and I'm not asking you to give me all your marketing strategies,
Yeah.
but just how does that usually come up?
Oh, well, our marketing team is definitely always thinking critically about how we reach the market, right? Primarily online now. But we also, we understand the legal industry. So we show up at, the conferences and where
Hmm.
those, CLE decision makers are
Yeah.
really.
For the relationships.
Right, building relationships, and we've been in this business for over 25 years now, so we've been able to build really strong relationships with, the individual attorneys we have, who many are
Mhm.
part of, many are solo practitioners, but others, right, they work within a larger
Mhm.
organization. So we are able to scale that way. We have good relationships um, when we go to conferences, right, with all the people that we've met year after
Mhm.
year. So we're able to kind of build out that way, build word of mouth.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of those are the different avenues, right? Our email,
Mhm.
online marketing, showing up at conferences, building those relationships in person, and then building on our existing clientele also.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would love to ask you, I I think the legal industry is one of the industries that has been so historically driven by relationships and trust. As you guys are starting to not merge towards that B2B side of things, but that side of the business is expanding, how important have you found that trust building, that relationship building aspect to be when going after those opportunities as well?
It's critical that having that trust and relationship, it really helps to kind of bring you to the next level, right? For anyone, regardless of what business
Yeah.
you're in, you want to know that you're engaging like with an organization that actually is going to do what they say, provide you with the product that they say they're going to provide you with, and that you trust at the end
Hmm.
of the day, right? Especially when they're the same with probably any industry, right? But there are a lot of CLE companies out there. So
Yeah.
how do how do you make the best choice for you? And it starts with the people, right? And
Hmm.
building trust. And when I talk to individuals, I'm I'm being myself, right? I'm being myself, saying this is what we do. This is how we can support you. And that's really what it's about. Like, how can we support either the individual attorney or the organization and make
Hmm.
learning as easy as possible for them? And so I think like the relationships we built, they see that we're sincere
Agree.
and authentic, and it goes a long way.
Oh, that's awesome. And I have a bit of a different question here for you, which
Sure.
is there any aspect that you see when you're leading the team, when you're leading your department, the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, is there any aspect of it that you would say is different than most, that maybe another business will look at your business and the way that you do it is like, oh, I don't agree with this at all, but it's actually the right way for you, or the way that you think actually allows the results to come, especially when it comes to a lot of the um I guess the education that happens behind the scenes for you to transfer the message to your customers. So, is there anything in particular, maybe a belief or a way of doing things, an action that you think is the right way, but others would maybe disagree?
That's a really great question. Two things come to mind for me. Like one, first and foremost, we really are thinking about how we can help attorneys learn. Like that's really the bottom line, right? How and it's so important, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we are educating the legal profession and they in turn are representing real people. They're representing
Yeah.
clients, organizations. So we really are like think about that role and take it very seriously, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we have, we it's incumbent upon us to provide like the best training possible because the work we're doing is so important. And so like that's one thing that's always top of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And two, recently in the last couple years, we kind of restructured the way that we go out in the industry
Okay.
as well. So now, whereas before we had, provide you with a concrete example. So
Sure.
before we had, traditional sales executives who, were talking to firms and industries in the organization. And it was working really well for us. But what we found is our team of attorneys who were actually creating the content were the ones really making and developing strong relationships with
Mm.
people in the industry. And so we have now folded our sales team into our content department, or
Mm.
now called Learning Solutions. And we've created kind of an education first approach, right? So if we are
Okay.
educating the legal community about, you know, all the legal updates and everything that they need to know. That's first and foremost. And then we can educate the community about Lawline, right? Who we are, what we do, how we can help them. And that's really the most successful model going forward. So we have our attorneys who are creating our content, who are well versed. They're the ones actually going out and building relationships and engaging in business development.
That's awesome. I love how you say it, that you mentioned the education part because I'm a truly strong believer in that too. And a lot of the stuff that we do, including this podcast, is that education side of things as well, right? It's just really educating people the right way as opposed to just feeding information and hope for the best.
Absolutely. And it goes to what you were saying about building trust
Yeah,
too, right? Like, we are able to position ourselves as thought leaders
yeah.
too in the community. And, when we go out in the industry into conferences, we're not just sitting at a booth, right? We're also presenting, we're speaking, right? We understand we have something to offer and contribute. So we're not just showing up as exhibitors, but we're showing up as thought leaders in the space too.
1000%. I'm a million percent even. I agree with
Yeah.
you. So that's awesome. I like that you share that same mind frame as well. And I wanted to ask you a question, Angelica, that I've been asking everybody. So it has become a frame of the podcast. Everybody's a victim of it, and so will be you. So and you will be one as well. So here's the question,
Okay.
which is I think it's fair to assume that the company still wants to keep growing as much as possible. So based on that notion, let's say you had a magic wand and you could wave this wand and it would allow you to solve one thing in the company. I know there are often many things that we want to solve and work on and prioritize, but just one thing. You solve this one thing and you are able to achieve your growth goals just like that. What's the one challenge, obstacle, whatever it might be that you'd like to solve in the company?
Oh, it's a great question. And you caught me at a good time because this question is literally at the top of mind for me, right? Like how do we bring ourselves to the next level, right? And we're constantly, we kind of have an entrepreneurial spirit. So we're always thinking about how do we continue to grow and what's next for us. And one space, we're talking about B2B and growing that branch of the business. One thing that we've recently really fully committed to is offering what we call accreditation services
Okay.
to the legal community, meaning, right? So for over 25 years, we've been creating CLE content for lawyers, and we've built really great relationships with all the states that regulate CLE.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to our firm clients, one pain point we kept hearing again and again was, you know, we have our own trainings that we do for our attorneys, and it's such a hassle to get it approved for CLE, right? Because maybe they have limited resources, limited bandwidth, they don't have a lot of staff, but they want to be able to create trainings for their lawyers too. So what we've started doing, I would say since 2023, and now really building a more robust infrastructure, is helping organizations to get their content approved daily.
Awesome.
And also creating a place too where they can keep track of it all and manage everything very easily. There's so much administration that comes with CLE behind the scenes.
I can assume, yeah.
With any like regulated industry where there's certain regulations where you have to track attendance, issue certificates, all of these things. There's
Mhm.
a lot of work that goes beyond behind the scenes. So that's an area where we've seen a lot of success recently and where we're continuing to grow. And I
Awesome.
I really see it just like skyrocketing.
Yeah, I like that. I like that answer. And I have one final question here for you, Angelica, which is actually not a question from me. It's a question from our last guest to you, and they had no idea who you were.
Awesome.
Are you
Okay.
ready for the question?
Yeah.
I actually really like this one. This has been one of my favorite ones so far. So let's see.
All right.
Here's the question. What was the best team you have ever been on? Be it sports, business, band, camp, whatever has been in your entire life, and why? And when your people are asked that same question, how can you make sure that their current team is the answer?
Um, that's an amazing question. It's the first time I've gotten that. Um, the first thing that comes to mind for me, and it's a little bit cheating, but bear with me, is um I just finished wrapping up coaching my daughter's basketball team. Uh,
Okay.
so she's 8 years old. There's a team of third, fourth, and fifth graders. And I mean, this team, honestly, coaching them was like the best experience
Mm.
that I could have ever had. And because they were most of them were beginners. They were brand new to basketball, like,
Yeah,
you
just
know,
things out.
teaching like dribbling fundamentals, right? Like
Mm.
very basic fundamentals, but they gave it their all every single game,
Mhm.
100% of the time. And we lost a lot, but but every game was better and better and better. And where they were from day 1 to to the last game of the season was just night and day. And they were so positive every time. Like,
Mm.
"Oh, okay, well, this time, like, we did this. We got a steal. This we
Yeah.
scored more points this game than last game." And
Mhm.
just, like, I think those are good qualities of any team, right? Like, the drive, determination, like,
Mm.
wanting to always improve, and they supported each other, like, they
Mm.
this was they're young kids, right?
Yep.
Like, kids, you don't know which way it'll go, but
Mhm.
they were so supportive of each other. If someone missed a shot, they weren't down on each other, right? And so, those are just good team qualities,
Nice.
and I think the second point of the question was how can I
Is
my
how
team.
can you make sure? Yeah, how can you make
Yeah.
sure that your team would answer their team right now?
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of the same thing, right? Creating a culture, where it's okay to not be perfect, it's okay to make mistakes, but creating a culture of learning, right?
Mm.
And which is we're in the learning industry, so the same thing applies, right? We're always learning, always adapting, but it's really about what can we take away from this experience so we
Yeah.
get better every time and support each other as.
Amazing. I love that answer. And not cheating at all. I really, really like the way that you went with it. So, Angelica, thank you so much for your time. This has been such a good conversation. Where should people go if they want to learn a little bit more about you, but also, of course, a little bit more about Lawline?
Yeah, definitely lawline.com, lawline.com. So really easy to find us. Anyone can watch a course on Lawline, create an account. You don't have to be a lawyer even. Checked out my LinkedIn too, my LinkedIn profile. Just Google my name, Lawline, I'll come up. Would love to connect with people in the industry as well.
Amazing, Angelica. Thank you so much for your time. And for anyone else that's watching up until now, I will see you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you.